Jujutsu Infinite releasing just around the corner, everyone's gonna want to know what the best and worst innate abilities in the game are. With the help of the Jujutsu Infinite Discord, I created the most accurate Jujutsu Infinite tier list. The ranking of these innates will be based on PvP and PvE results combined. These are all subject to change, and I will be making an updated tier list in about a week or so. And before we get to the tier list, I'll be giving away innate slots. All you have to do is like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll be picking a winner in a few days. And starting with the worst innate in the game, it has to be construction. It has the lowest score when it comes to PvP and PvE use, making construction an almost instant throwaway. You're probably going to end up getting hundreds of these before you get the innate that you want. Construction has 3 moves. Pistol, a standard shot, nothing really special about it. Cleaver clash, you summon a cleaver to attack somebody, but it's not really that good because once you use it you're locked and you can't change direct. And finally, minigun barrage. It's pretty cool, but compared to the other innates, construction doesn't stand a chance. And with the second worst, we have blazing courage. Blazing courage is almost interchangeable with construction. The common complaint about blazing courage is the fact that it's no good moves. The 3 moves are blazing slash, heart of fire, and fire tornado. Yeah, there's not really much to talk about blazing courage. And with the last in D tier, we have tool manipulation. It's nothing special, but it has knife frenzy, which is a decent move because of the auto targeting. It also has broom, which is a traversal. It's pretty cool for how common it is, but that's the main factor why it's the highest in D tier. But it's still also D tier. Yeah, there's nothing too special about these. For the first entry in C tier, we have Boogie Woogie. At first you think Boogie Woogie would be great, right? You could teleport around your opponents and they wouldn't be able to keep up. But the thing is, Boogie Woogie only has 1 attacking move, 2 if you count the counter, but you still have to be hit first. All of its other moves are based on teleporting, which is good for support, but as a standalone innate, it's not that good. For the next entry in C tier, we have Cursed Speech. This one stands out because it's pretty good for PvP, but for PvE it's pretty bad. 3 of its moves basically do the same thing, sending the enemy flying away, and its other 3 are basically doing the same thing and stopping your enemy's movement. People are so disappointed that a lot of people are calling for a rework. Hopefully we'll get a better version in the future because it shouldn't be lost in C tier. And with the next entry, we have Cloning. Suffering from the same fate as Cursed Speech, we have Cloning. For PvP, Cloning is one of the most annoying innates to fight, because it literally feels like no matter what you do, the clones are going to catch you. But the thing is, it only has 3 moves though, which they're all pretty good, but in this game there's innates with double amount of moves, even triple. And in PvE, the moves aren't as effective as going against real players, leading it to combine its highs and lows and end up in C tier. And with the next entry on the list, we have Straw Doll. And now we're getting to a point where every innate is viable in PvP and PvE. At this point, Straw Doll is one of the best innates for PvP. With its signature move Nail Barrage, it creates one of the best setups for PvP in the game. You can get really creative with the uses. You could use Resonance and connect your M1s no matter where they are, and Hairpin to make them explode no matter the distance too. I think you could see why it makes it one of the best PvP innates in the game. You also might be wondering, if it's so good, why is it in B tier? Well, if you think about it, all these moves are single target and work much better in a 1v1 scenario. And compared to what others can do in PvE, it just doesn't hold up. And with the next on the list, we have Heavenly Restriction. For the small price of 1700 Robux, you can get yourself a Heavenly Restriction. It stops you from being able to use Cursed Energy. I can't recommend it unless you're a Toji super fan with a lot of Robux to spare. There's some cool side effects to having a Heavenly Restriction, like being immune to most domain sure-hit attacks, as well as domain invasion. But nobody truly knows the full potential of Heavenly Restriction. For now it stands at the middle of the pack. But with moves like Super Senses, which gives you iframes, I could easily see this rising up the rankings after we learn more about Heavenly Restriction. And with the next, we have Soul Manipulator. With our first special grade of the list, it falls in the same scenario as Heavenly Restriction. Nobody's really tested its limits, but what we do know, it's really good innate for PvE. With moves like Polymorphic Soul Assigner, Soul Touch, and Deformed Fist, the highs are pretty high for Soul Manipulator. And with a move like Distorted Inflation, the future for PvP seems pretty good. Next on the list, we have Gambler Fever. If you ever have trouble in PvE, just use Gambler Fevers and all your worries will be gone. Without a doubt, this is the top innate for PvE. All you moves summon something, so you can fight from a relatively safe range. You could summon pachinko balls, trains, slot machines, and even more. And on top of that, your domain lowers the opponent's defense. And once your fever meter's full, you could just destroy anything in your path. While it's middle of the pack for PvP, its PvE uses make it something insane. And with the top of B tier, we have Hydrokinesis. It's good for PvP and PvE. You could breeze through the game with all of its moves. Almost all of them are long range, which keeps you far from harm's way. The only thing that I could critique is that it gets pretty boring using the same attacks over and over, particularly with this innate. But if you don't mind that, I'm sure you'll love Hydrokinesis. And with the first innate in A tier, we have Judgment. A lot of these high ranking innates have stuff in common. For example, safe abilities. For Judgment, those would be Gavel Smash, Gavel Sweep, and Guillotine Execution. They're all really good for PvP and PvE. He even has a counter which you can never go wrong with, and Confiscation, which takes your opponent's technique. That's literally just insane. His domain expansion is a game of rock, paper, scissors, which if you win you get the crazy Executioner sword, and if you tie they still just lose their technique. Basically what I'm saying is, if they don't win, you win. The next one in A tier, Cryokinesis. Cryokinesis is very similar to Hydrokinesis, but although it has no domain expansion, I have it higher on the list due to the fact it freezes opponents. If it were to have more moves, I could easily see this being an S-tier innate ability. And for the next on the list, we have Blood Manipulation, the most volatile innate on the list. If you didn't know already, Blood Manipulation is arguably one of the best innates for PvP in the game. There's so many good things to say about it. There's Flowing Red Scales which buff your character, Supernova which lets you proc your opponent when there's enough blood buildup, as well as Blood Blind which freezes your opponent, and the best move of all, Blood Disc. It's the best move in the game to start or extend combos. As you can see, all these moves are great for PvP, but they don't really extend well to PvE. That's why I can't make its way into S tier, but in our hearts it is. These next two on the list are interchangeable. It just depends what you value more in an innate, starting with Demon Vessel. You literally become Sukuna. Just like in the show, range attacks are his bread and butter. From Cleave to Dismantle to Flame Arrow, you just have so much to use with this innate. But what gives it even more value is this innate has an awakening. Yup, you're able to transform into Hionera Sukuna, which gives you the power to do world cutting slash and just wreak havoc anywhere you go. Once more people learn Demon Vessel, I feel like it will quickly rise up the list. And then we have Ratio. Okay, I can't lie, this is one of the coolest innates in the game. It's not even like it's special or anything, but with the power of 7.3, your damage output becomes crazy. And if you combine it with overtime, which increases your damage even more, you become an absolute unit. It's pretty convincing why people call it the best PvP innate in the game. And of course that damage transfers over to PvE, easily making it the best rare in the game. And for the last in A tier, we have Volcano. Imagine if Blazing Courage was actually good, and that's about what 15% of Volcano is. To start, almost all of his moves do burn damage, which quickly adds up over time whether you're fighting a boss or another player in PvP. To add on, his AoE moves are just crazy. You could just press a button and 90% of the time you'll hit somebody. But now, onto the top 3. Star Rage. Third best innate in the game. Star Rage allows you to do anything that you want. It's an innate that rewards you for learning everything inside and out. For example, all of its combos and extensions like the ones with Mercury. But even if you don't take out the time to learn it, you can still breeze through PvE without a worry in the world. And for PvP, once you learn the setups, the reward of Star Rage is just so good. And you can't forget the domain expansion. A literal black hole. Do I need to say more? And for the second best innate in the game, we have Limitless. Just like Gojo, everything about this innate is overpowered. It has some of the best range moves in the game like Blue and of course Hollow Purple. It has Mugen which allows you to be immune to everything, but what makes him insane is his 6-Eyes mode. When it's activated, your M1s drag the opponent around with you like a vacuum, and your blue attack becomes even more crazy, dragging the player and exploding, and your red becomes an aimable explosion. And when you combine those two insane moves, you get the legendary Hollow Nuke. Any and everybody wants Limitless, and there's a reason why. And with the best in the game, we have Curse Queen. There's a lot I could say about this innate, but all I need to say is its maximum technique Jacob ladder, one-shots. Subscribe.